It's alright.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Yo guys, what is up? Moxsy here with another Borderlands 3 video, and today we have a new Amara build for you guys. This is Khaos Queen Amara. Now Khaos Queen Amara is very similar to Hyper Witch Amara, but we changed the weapons. We're not really using the Hyper Focus anymore, so I changed the name, changed some skill points, changed some gear, and here for you guys today is Khaos Queen. We've got a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it. Alright guys, so right now on your screen you should be seeing the new skill tree for Khaos Queen Amara. Now this is a FL4K Amara build. It is extremely strong. I will be updating Ricochet Witch, but I wanted to make this build and show this off for you guys first, because Ricochet Witch honestly isn't changing. Now, this skill tree is slightly more optimized for Mayhem 10, and I'm going to be talking about the changes that I did make, but I spent honestly multiple hours thinking over these skill points, and I'm really happy with them. I'm really happy with the way this build came out. But before we talk about all the skill points, I want to talk about these new weapons. Now, this is a FL4K build. It's very similar to Hyper Witch, but we changed all the weapons out. The new weapons from this new update are honestly just stronger. They're just better than pretty much anything that we had before. So we're using the new weapons. The Khaos, I made a video on this. It is extremely strong. It is a replacement for the Hyper Focus. It is an awesome SMG, and it works incredibly well with this build. Now, ignore my anointments and my rolls on these weapons. I'm going to be talking to you guys about the best for each, but honestly, I've been struggling to get all my ideal gear because drop rates right now are pretty bad. And so, like, for example, consecutive hits is great on the Khaos, but I honestly would have rather had 100 ASE on this. Reflux, I would have rather had a cash infused. With shock, redundant is great. It does more damage, but it chews up more ammo. So I think cash infused with shock is my role there, or a different ASE mag. Monarch, really awesome weapon. Would have rather had a ×8. And then the yellow cake. The yellow cake, I'm trying not to showcase too much in these build videos. We might make a yellow cake build, but honestly, this weapon is gross without a build. You don't even need a skill tree or skill points to make this thing look disgusting. It is so strong. But the main weapons that I've been using with this are the Reflux, the Khaos, the Monarch. Now the OPQ is really great on this build. I love using the OPQ with this build. I might make a build that's like very specific on using the OPQ and the carrier, so I was kind of holding off on that showcase for that, but the OPQ is also awesome with this build. Same with the Sandtalk. Now, still rocking a FL4K, still rocking Pearl of Knowledge, Mitosis Hunter Seekers, and Old God Shields for our equipment. Now, for the skill tree, 3 points into personal space. This is an amazing pickup. It's not 12%, it's 18%. It is a ton of bonus damage. It is an absolute must pickup. Now, onto the blue tree. The biggest change here is we're no longer going 5 into Violent Tapestry. This is a build that is more optimized. The whole cryo thing was very cool. If you guys want to go the cryo route, make sure to put more points into Violent Tapestry. But honestly, Violent Tapestry, with the amount of spam that we're going to be getting out of our action skill and the way we're using FL4K, we're basically going to have dots all the time on all the enemies. And I found that putting more points, unless we were using cryo, into this was pretty redundant. So we're getting fast hands for reload swap speed, weapon swap speed, and mode swap speed. Great pickup, and we're still going alacrity. Now our reload speed is awesome, and the fact that we have really fast reload speed is very important because sustainment is the only thing that's keeping us alive. So having good reload speed is super critical and allows us to never go down. Transcend, you guys know I love this skill. It's going to give us more crit damage, and when we double proc within 12 seconds, we're going to get plus 54% critical hit damage. We increased our points into Restless because there's so many enemies, especially with this cartel event, and so many things happening that being able to spam Ties That Bind, even if it's a second or two more, makes a big difference. So we're putting more points into Restless. It's going to give us more use of our Laid Bare and Wrath and Transcend and allow for better control. We took points out of Awakening. Now, with only 1 point into Violent Tapestry and 2 harm, we don't really need points into Awakening, and because we got fast hands, we're getting already a ton of reload speed, so we took those points out of Awakening. We did put a point into Remnant. The Remnant point is mainly just if you want to use some different weapons with overkill. Now, these weapons here aren't going to be doing a ton of overkill, but if you pull out something like a yellow cake and you want to use that, or hitting things with basically anything, it's just nice to have, and it can help us in our bossing damage. So we picked up Remnant. This build is very versatile. It genuinely works with any weapon. We're about to talk about how that works, but really very versatile build. Lastly, Avatar. Avatar gives us our double use of our action skill. It's going to increase our damage and our cooldown rate from the Phase Zerker because we're scaling it off of our rush stacks. Avatar is going to give us more rush stacks. You guys have heard me say this. We're going Anima. Anima dots aren't as impactful as they were prior on Mayhem 10, but we're still going Anima because I like this skill. And when you're using weapons such as the yellow kick, if you're going that route, you're going to get crazy damage returns from it. And we're going to have so many dots on enemies that it is just an overall DPS increase. We're going Steady Hands for the weapon handling and accuracy. Awesome pickup here. Now, this is where I gotta explain some decisions here. So we're putting 1 point into Infusion. Infusion now works with non-elemental weapons, and if you want to use a non-elemental weapon, such as the OPQ. Now, the OPQ does heal with shock damage, but just putting that 1 point into Infusion is going to allow you to heal from all of its shots. So just a nice little quality of life thing. If you want more points of Infusion, you can put it. If you want less points, totally fine. I'd put that point into Wildfire. Now, the reason we're going some more points into Wildfire is we're already dotting everything, and Wildfire just spreading those dots onto enemies if they don't already have them is a nice quality of life thing to have because enemies on Mayhem 10 are tanky. Now, we're doing a lot of different elemental damages. Infusion you cannot match to just get a little bit of different damage. With things like the reflux, it'll create more chains, and it's going to give you an extra dot. Now, an extra dot is really awesome because it'll proc Harmageddon. Now, when we're using a ton of different elements, we're going to get 5% more damage per unique status effect on them. Because we're using Anima, that duration is going to be a lot longer, and with Anima and Infusion and Wildfire and Violent Tapestry, we're going to have dots on all the enemies all around us. Now, it wasn't as important before to have something like this, but with how tanky enemies are, it's really nice to have that basic 25% damage increase on all enemies all the time. It is completely underrated, and I wanted to highlight that. So extremely strong pickup, trying to get as many elements as we can in Wildfire. Now, I still don't like Conflux. If Conflux could proc Cryo and Radiation, it'd be worth it, but we're basically already hitting all those notes, and we don't need to reproc on Conflux. So right now I have class mod points in there, but I still don't like Conflux. Dread, obviously, gun damage while grasping. Deep Well for more magazine size. You guys know Indiscriminate is one of my favorite skills. Ricochets. Now, Sustainment is 3 points. Forceful Expression, great pickup. The reason we're going Sustainment for 3 points is because our health didn't change. Our health is still the exact same, but our weapons almost tripled in damage. The weapons on Mayhem 10 all do way more damage than they did on Mayhem 4, but our actual health hasn't changed. Because of this, putting 5 points into Sustainment is pretty much overkill with the amount of damage that we're going to be doing. 3 points into Sustainment and 1 point into Infusion is just fine. It allows us to put a few other points in better places, so that's why we're going 3 in Sustainment, because genuinely 5 points in here is just overkill. And that's about it for the build. We're we're using ties that bind. Whether you want to use Allure, whether you want to use Stillness, whether you want to use Soul Sap is totally up to you. Soul Sap is the safest, but you don't need that lifesteal. The reason I say Soul Sap is the safest is because you're not getting any negative effects from it. Allure, you're going to get action skill damage down, and the Allure radius is smaller than the ties that bind radius, but honestly, it doesn't matter that much. You don't need the health from Soul Sap. So I kind of always use Allure just because it's a nice crowd control. And when we go Stillness, we're going to get even further damage loss and get more cooldown. And I don't want more cooldown. So that is the decision making behind that. Now, let's talk about modifiers real quick because it'll explain some choices here. Now, the Pearl is amazing. We're going to be using weapons like the Reflux, like the Khaosin, and be able to stack Pearl up very, very quickly. However, we have slower move speed. Now, because we have slower move speed, then Driver Builds, the modifier that we're going to be going for is Speed Demon. This is going to increase our movement speed a ton and makes up for any slower movement speed that you may experience when using Phaserker Amara versus Driver Amara. So Speed Demon is very, very awesome. In terms of the rest of the modifiers, it doesn't really matter. I usually use Roguelite. I don't really die with this build, so having Roguelite is fine with me. And then Mob Mentality, Chengang, the middle modifiers don't really matter, but Speed Demon is a great pickup for this build because it's going to give us the movement speed that we are kind of lacking. So great pickup there. And that's about it for the build. The Phaserker, the actual stat rolls on it don't really matter. You're going to want to look for weapon damage. If you could get splash damage, that would be great. Cooldown is great. Mag size is great. I have a bunch of different ones that I'd be using. Weapon damage, shotgun damage, weapon critical damage. The Hunter Seeker we're using, if you do throw your grenade, you can throw it before fighting a boss to pre-stack your Pearl. That's basically the only time I ever throw my Hunter Seeker, is to pre-stack Pearl before I actually fire a shot off. And when we have weapons with like the 30-90 anoint, that damage increase right off the first shot is very, very nice to have for those one shots. Still using an Old God, still the best in slot. If you do not have an Old God, go for a Transformer, a Recharger. Bandit Sidorak stacking was fixed, so no longer need that. But Old God is the best in slot. Getting that bonus elemental damage is very, very nice. This is still one of the best Old Gods I have. And yeah, guys, that is it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Super strong build. It performs amazingly well on Mayhem 10. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!